Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to another Planetarium live stream. My name is Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Specialist at Union Station, and I'm so happy to have you joining us for another one of our lovely Monday night streams. If you joined us last week, thank you for participating in that marathon. If you missed it, we covered 150 of my favorite space facts. That was in celebration of meeting 150,000 views for these live streams. This is our 36th stream, I believe I counted. Yeah, so I wanted to just start out by thanking everyone again for supporting us since we've been streaming all the way starting back in March of this year. If you've missed any of our previous streams, you can find them all on our YouTube channel. We've split them up into different playlists where we grouped our deep dive topics, as well as our What's Up Star Tours and our Fan Friday Q&A sessions that we had back during our lockdown. Now, some of us are still at home, but just a reminder that Union Station is now open to the public and the Planetarium is open as well. If you would like and you are feeling comfortable, you and your family and friends are welcome to come visit us at the Planetarium. You can buy tickets online in advance, which we recommend. We do have limited capacity right now, and we are following, of course, many safety procedures. Yeah, we hope to see you under the stars at the Planetarium. But in the meantime, you're welcome to keep joining us for these live streams. We'll be doing them Monday nights at 6 p.m. For the foreseeable future, and we'll of course keep you updated on any of those schedule changes. Couple little housekeeping things. I wanted to remind everyone that we should have sent out information to all of our Union Station members that those who were members, are members this year, will get an additional 3 months on their membership, and that is in response to the closure that Union Station experienced earlier in the year. So check your membership status, and if you have a membership, you don't need to renew. If you have those 3 additional months, you'll just bring your card, and that's automatically applied in our system. So just keep that in mind. A nice little bonus for the time that we were stuck at home. And I did want to thank all of our Union Station members. We really can't do this without your support. And to everyone else who is supporting Union Station in every other way with donations, with watching these streams and telling your friends about them, that makes a huge difference. We have had a lot of fun this summer as we welcomed people back to Union Station. You know, all of us will continue facing challenges as this year goes on, so any way you can support all of us is greatly appreciated. And this is one great way to support Union Station. For our live stream today, I'm gonna take it down a notch. We're gonna have a little bit more of a chill live stream. Last week I crammed 150 space facts into about an hour, and if you watched, you probably saw you know, me run out of steam there by the end. It was quite a marathon. And it's also been quite a while since we've done a Star Tour for our live stream. Since we reopened, I've been encouraging people to come to the Planetarium to see our live Star Tour there. But for those who have not yet come back to the Planetarium or would like to just continue watching these streams, this week I wanted to do another What's Up Star Tour live stream. So we're going to cover our summer skies. We're going to give sort of one last goodbye to our summer skies. And we will just take a look at some stars and constellations you'll see in our night skies tonight and have been seeing over the past month. Don't forget that the comment section is open, so if you have any questions, go ahead and jump in and feel free to ask away. If you have a shout out or just want to say hi, you can chime in like Carl, who is saying hello from Sumner, Missouri. Thanks for tuning in, Carl. So glad you're joining us. Feel free to anybody else, feel free to give a shout out or ask a question. Before we jump into our Star Tour, I did want to also do a little bit of a cleanup over the past month of space news. We used to cover some updates, space updates and astronomy, space exploration news items during our Star Tour streams, but we haven't had a chance to do that over the past few weeks since our deep dives have been a little bit intense. So I wanted to start out with just covering some interesting space topics. So we're going to cover things that have happened over about the past month in space. So we're going to switch over here. All right, by the way, I've updated my setup a little bit. Had to reinstall Windows on my computer, and I got a fancy new chair replacing the piano bench that I was sitting on before. So that's why I look like I've got this very fancy, you know, gamer setup here. Anyway, let's talk about some space news. So this is pretty cool. We did talk about the Perseverance Mars rover that launched back in July. But while it's traveling to Mars, which will take a few months, it's going to get there around February, they are testing out a lot of parts of this mission, a lot of parts of the rover. And one of the parts that they tested out recently, just the other day, about a week ago, I guess, was the helicopter. So a second rover, or probe, I guess you could say, is actually attached to the Perseverance rover that's on its way to Mars. It's called Ingenuity. And this is a small helicopter that they're planning on flying on Mars. It'll be the first flying aircraft, first aircraft, I guess, to ever fly in the skies of a different planet. So pretty cool. They powered it on in flight just to make sure the batteries are still working, make sure it's all good. And NASA announced that they've charged it all up and it's ready to fly once it lands on Mars. It'll probably be a couple months, I'm guessing, after it lands before it actually takes off. So there'll be a little bit of time there. So speaking of Mars rovers, a very fun, nice milestone was reached just about 20 days ago, and it was the 8th anniversary of the Curiosity rovers landing on Mars. So 8 years ago, 2012, it landed on Mars and has been exploring and roving around ever since. Perseverance is very similar to Curiosity. It's sort of Curiosity's big sister. And we'll be joining the venerable six-wheeled rover on the surface of the red planet. But Mars, or Curiosity, is going to continue doing science and has been doing an awesome job over the past 8 years. So happy Mars birthday to Curiosity. And a couple other shout outs in the comments. Rebecca saying hello from Jefferson City. Thanks for tuning in, Rebecca. Hannah says hello from Fort Collins, Colorado. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And then Becky's watching from Lewisburg. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I love seeing your comments. It's nice to feel a presence on the other side of this internet void that I'm speaking into. I'm usually used to talking to a crowd of people in the planetarium who, of course, laugh extremely loudly at all my amazing space jokes. But there's really no one here to laugh at my jokes, so I appreciate you guys giving shout-outs. All right, so let's continue on. There's a lot of space news to cover, so we're just going to spend some time doing that because I'm having fun doing it. Although this is a bit of a less fun space news, although everything's fine right now. But a couple days ago, at the end of last week, NASA and the Russian Space Agency announced that the crew of the International Space Station is going to have to lock itself inside one of the capsules there because there is an air leak on the International Space Station, which is not great generally. If you're flying around in space, you would prefer the air to stay inside the spacecraft, not to escape it. There was actually another announcement made just about 40 minutes ago by NASA saying that they were planning on leaving today, actually, and going back into the rest of the ISS, but they have been instructed to spend one more day inside the Russian segment that they're sort of holed up in. And the mission controllers on the ground will continue to try to use their software and other techniques to detect where that leak is. So again, they're all very safe, and there's still air inside the International Space Station. It's a very tiny leak, but when you're flying through space at 40,000 miles per hour, you want to be as careful as possible. So they're going to try to figure out where that leak is so they can fix it before things get much worse. And again, it's fine now. They can breathe if they went outside of the capsule, but just to be safe. Tammy is tuning in from Iowa, one of our longtime watchers. Thanks for watching, Tammy. Glad you're here with us. And then we've got, looks like Tenderly is chiming in from Parkville, Missouri, just close by. Awesome. Thanks for watching. So let's see. This is another exciting news update from a mission that's been going on for a little while. We're going to go back over here. So the Hayabusa 2 mission launched in 2014, and its mission was to collect a sample from an asteroid, and it's been on its way back to Earth with that sample, and it was actually just cleared to land in Australia. So just because of how the capsule's coming in with the sample and how fast it's going and the limited amount of fuel on these probes, they can't really choose where it's going to land. So this Japanese probe really, is going to just end up landing in Australia, and they had to call up Australia and ask them if it was okay if their probe landed there, and Australia said sure, that's fine. And so it's going to land in December, and they'll collect the probe and its sample and hopefully learn a lot about what our asteroids are made of. This will be really exciting to finally get a sample from an asteroid. So that will be pretty cool in December. let's see. So, let me get this one here. Now, a news story we've been following for a while, since earlier this year was the Dragon, or the Crew Dragon capsule from SpaceX. It was launched earlier this year, and it was the first time in almost 10 years that American astronauts flew aboard an American spacecraft to space. And that mission came to a close recently. About 20 days ago, the capsule did splash down, and the 2 crew members came back to Earth. So that mission was complete and deemed successful. So that is going to pave the way to the next mission, which will be the Crew 1 mission. So the first mission was just a demo mission. They did some science while up there, but it wasn't really an official mission. But the Crew Dragon space capsule, for the first true full mission on board this American capsule, just arrived in Florida yesterday, and they're going to continue prepping it for the launch. And that launch is scheduled for October, no earlier than October 23rd. So we'll see. Hopefully there won't be any delays there, but it'll be pretty exciting. This mission will have 4 crew members aboard it, unlike the 2 of the demo mission. So that'll be pretty exciting. And don't worry, we will for sure be covering that during our live streams. So continue watching and stay tuning in. Also, in other SpaceX news, SpaceX set another record. They tend to set a lot of records that they create themselves, because there aren't a lot of other American rockets that are going into space and coming back. But SpaceX just had its 6th landing of 1 booster. So the Falcon 9 rocket, it's pretty cool, and one of the main reasons is that it's able to land back on Earth and be reused, which is a lot cheaper than building a brand new rocket and losing it every time you send it to space. But this booster has went to space and come back safely 6 times. So the return on investment there has got to be high. So congrats to SpaceX there. Susan's saying hello from Kansas City, and Patrick's saying hello from Kansas City too. That's where I am, or at least in this pocket universe that exists somewhere in the downtown Kansas City region. Again, speaking of SpaceX, they had a pretty good event happen earlier this month on August 4th. They have been working on building this new rocket. I'm kind of in the way. This new rocket called Starship. And this rocket is going to be way, way bigger than the Falcon 9 rocket. And they have had some not so successful tests of the first stage of this rocket, which just tends to explode on the launch pad. But if you look through space exploration history, you'll find a lot of rockets explode on the launch pad for the first few times. But they did have a successful test launch where they were able to hover this. It looks just like a giant soda can, but this is a prototype of the first stage of this Starship rocket, which again is going to be much, much bigger than the Falcon 9. As you can see here in a second, it did safely touch back down. It only hopped about 150 meters into the air, but you got to start somewhere, this will hopefully pave the way for higher hops, and then eventually taking this rocket to space, and then eventually using this rocket for deep space missions, and maybe even a mission to Mars. Some other, again, bummer news. This happened about a couple weeks ago. There was a freak accident that happened at the Arecibo Observatory down in Puerto Rico, and basically a cable snapped and destroyed a lot of the radar dish here. And this telescope has been featured in a lot of films like GoldenEye and the movie Contact. They don't know why this happened. It could have just been a freak accident with a cable failure, but it did destroy quite a bit of the dish there. So they're going to have to repair that. But kind of a bummer that things like that occasionally will happen, although they still are working on figuring out why that is. All right, we're 15 minutes in, so I'm going to condense things down a little bit. This is kind of cool to talk about some astronomy news. There was a supernova that was recorded pretty recently in 1987. That's why it's called Supernova 1987A. It was the first supernova found in 1987. Astronomers are really great at naming things, which we'll find out a little bit later in our star tour. But we observed that supernova, and we have already found evidence or imagery, you could say, of the neutron star that's left over at the center of this supernova. So this is a sort of a time-lapse imagery over the course of 25 years after this supernova was detected of the shockwave explosion spreading outwards. And we are now just seeing the evidence of the supernova left over in the core of that, of the neutron star left over in the core of that supernova. As we've talked about in previous streams, we did a stream all about stellar evolution, the life and death of stars, and we did talk about supernovas and where they come from. So if you want to learn more about where supernovas come from, then I would encourage you to rewatch that live stream, which you can find on our YouTube channel once again. Continuing on, got a shout out. I might have already said this, but in case I didn't, Susan is saying hello from Kansas City. So thanks for watching, Susan. And if I said that already, then thanks again. Now, this is pretty cool. I wanted to share this because it's something that you can do at home while you're bored, waiting for, real life to come back to normal. But there's a citizen science project that is starting that is helping, or is how you can help astronomers around the world hunt for Planet 9, the official Planet 9, not Pluto. That's right, Pluto's not a planet. Sorry, not sorry. But there is basically a citizen science project here. Let me pull up the actual page here. And I can link this page in the comment section. But this is a way you can help out real astronomers. And basically, you can observe short videos of space, and you can try to flag moving objects. And this is actually the same technique that was used to discover Pluto. And this could be the technique that discovers the true 9th planet. So pretty cool, something you can do at home, and that'll be at backyardworlds.org. So backyardworlds.org. You can get into some of these citizen science projects. There are quite a few of them you can participate in. Yeah, kind of a fun way you can help out real astronomers at home. We love those citizen science projects. The last little news update I wanted to give is also a plug for next week's live stream already. This was a news item that came up over the past week. There was a decently sized asteroid that flew incredibly close to Earth, within 1,800 miles, which is very, very close. The moon is 240,000 miles away from us. So just to give you an idea of how close that is. Closest pass we've ever actually observed, and as you can see, you can't see it. So it came very, very close to Earth. And we didn't see it coming until pretty late. Now, if this asteroid had impacted the Earth, it may not have caused that much damage. A car-sized asteroid is not that big, but still decently significant. And these things happen pretty frequently. And so what I'm going to do next week for our live stream next week is we are going to talk about space surprises, including asteroids, but as well as other exciting and surprising things that we don't often see coming, like supernovas or the northern lights. But there are some ways we can predict these events, and we'll cover them in our live stream next week. And we will talk about asteroids. We'll talk about how we can find them, and the asteroids we don't find, what that impact could be to Earth if they get too close to us. So hopefully that will assuage some of our worries about these types of events. These pop up in the news a lot, and the news media loves an exciting story like an asteroid about to hit the Earth. Of course, that is definitely the thing we need right now in this world. But anyway, we will be talking about that more during next week's live stream. So be sure to tune in for that. Yeah, should be pretty interesting. But for now, we are going to start our official live stream. Thanks for being patient as we go through some of that space news. And as I said before, we're going to have a bit of a chiller live stream this week. And we are just going to take a little star tour. It's been a while since we've done a tour of the night sky in our live streams. So we are going to do that. And we are in Stellarium. We've used this software numerous times, and it's a free piece of software you can download at home on your PC or Mac. Or Linux machine if you're that cool. They do have a Linux version. But we're going to use it here to take a little tour of our night sky. And we can see our daytime sky here shining over our Kansas City skyline with the Liberty Memorial behind us. We are just on the steps there overlooking the beautiful Union Station there. And you can see the planetarium peeking out just above the ground. Now the sun is already pretty low in the sky. Unfortunately, the days have been getting shorter. They've been getting shorter since the summer solstice in June. And pretty soon the fall equinox will come, where the day and night is the exact same length. And after that, we will be heading towards winter. Although, let's not think about that right now. Let's focus on our summer skies, and we're going to take a little tour of our summer skies for probably the last time in our live streams here. Don't worry, there are still stars in the fall. So if we do another star tour in the fall, we'll have a fall stream. But we're going to do a little summer stream. For tonight, let's see what we can see in our night skies. And I usually, if you've ever seen one of my star tours or live streams, What's Up live streams, then you know that I like starting in the north because there is a familiar pair of patterns here that a lot of people already know. And that is the dippers, the Big Dipper here and the Little Dipper next to it. Now, these two spoons are what we call asterisms. They're not official constellations. A constellation is an officially determined star pattern that the International Astronomical Union picked back in 1930, but there are only 88 of those, and there are a lot of stars in the sky. People around the world certainly see more than just 88 patterns. So an asterism is an unofficial star pattern, whereas a constellation is an official star pattern, and there are only 88 of those. The official constellations that use these stars are called Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which means the Big Bear and the Little Bear. The Big Bear contains the stars of the Big Dipper. The tail of the bear is the handle of the spoon. The body of the bear contains the spoon plus these two stars down here. The head of the bear goes down to this star. It's kind of pointy. And then its legs extend towards the horizon. In the late summer and fall, it looks like it's just walking across the northern horizon. Ooh, I might have to change a setting real quick. Like I said, I did have to reinstall Windows. Ooh, I can hide that while I'm fixing this. Hopefully I can vamp while I am figuring out how to do this. What did I do to change this? I might not be able to figure it out. Ooh, is this what we want? Nope. Alright. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing well. If you watched last week's stream, let me know in the comments what your favorite space fact was. Again, I do apologize for this delay. Oh, okay. Great. Alright. As we were. So there we go. This is Ursa Major, the Big Bear. We can turn the constellation art on there as well. And then Ursa Minor is the Little Bear, although it kind of looks more like a fat squirrel in this picture, in my opinion. Now there's a very famous star at the end of the Little Bear's tail here, as you can see. And that is Polaris, nicknamed the North Star. So called the North Star because it will stay in the same place all night long. By fast forward time, we'll see the entire celestial sphere rotates around the North Star. Now the stars aren't actually rotating. It's the Earth that's rotating. As the Earth spins around on its axis, our view changes along with our perspective on the stars. And as you can see here, the stars will just simply rotate around the North Star. But the North Star stays in roughly the same location all night long. And that's why it's special, no matter where you are on planet Earth, no matter what time of night it is. You can find that North Star, you can always find north, because the North Star always points north. By the way, I meant to mention that we are spending our star tour about an hour after sunset tonight, which is around 9:30. That's a good time. We call that astronomical twilight, because right after the sun gets below the horizon, it's obviously still pretty bright. So that is the North Star. There is another pair of patterns in our northeast sky right now. This one here looks like a little W or a little zigzag. This constellation's name is Cassiopeia. And above Cassiopeia, we have a little sideways house-shaped constellation. This one's called Cepheus. Now, Cepheus and Cassiopeia are present in Greek mythology, as well as a few others. But Cepheus and Cassiopeia were the king and queen of an ancient African nation. The Queen Cassiopeia was very beautiful, but she was also very vain. She liked to brag about her beauty. One day, Cassiopeia boasted that she was more beautiful than the daughters of Poseidon, the god of the sea. When Poseidon heard about this, he was not very happy, as you can imagine. A mere mortal claiming she was more beautiful than his immortal daughters, he wasn't going to let that stand. So he cursed their land with years and years of flooding, washing away many of their crops and sending their kingdom into a terrible famine. Cepheus and Cassiopeia tried desperately to appease the god Poseidon and ease his wrath. They eventually did what any two good parents would have done in this situation, and they decided to sacrifice their own daughter to the sea god. They tied their daughter Andromeda to some rocks by the ocean so she could be eaten by Cetus, a giant sea monster, and one of Poseidon's other children. Parents of the year right there. Andromeda is right below them, actually, and you can start to see it. This is usually featured in our fall star tour, but I'll give you guys a treat. We'll bring it up today. Andromeda looks kind of like a banana peel in our night sky here. These two arcs right there. Now luckily for Andromeda, the story has a happy ending. She was rescued by the hero Perseus, who flew in on his winged horse Pegasus, which is actually right next to Andromeda there. And Perseus saved the day. Of course, Perseus and Andromeda fell in love, got married, and lived happily ever after. Now Andromeda is pretty cool, and this will be more prevalent in our fall night sky because it'll be a bit higher in the sky. But if you stay up late tonight, you'll be able to see this. Only if you get far away from the city lights, of course. There's a lot of light pollution in Kansas City, and our simulation here pretends that I have a giant light switch for all of downtown, because you will definitely not see this many stars in downtown Kansas City. But if you do get away from Kansas City, away from those bright city lights, you'll find this deep space object, the Andromeda Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is a spiral galaxy similar to our Milky Way galaxy. It's the closest major galaxy to our own. It's also traveling towards the Milky Way at a rate of about 68 miles per second. And in about 4 billion years, our two galaxies will actually collide with one another. Don't worry though, we'll be fine. Because most stars are so far away from one another that there is very little chance of any two stars colliding or even interacting with each other's solar systems when this happens. Plus, like I said, this event is not going to happen for another 4 billion years, and I don't know about y'all, but I've got other places to be in 4 billion years. Well, there is Andromeda. It is visible to the naked eye, just barely if you get really far away from the city lights. If it were brighter, though, or the human eye was better, it would actually occupy a space 6 times as wide as the moon in the night sky, so it's already pretty close to us. You can see it at scale there. Jennifer's chiming in. Hello, Jennifer. Thanks for watching. For Jennifer, Cassiopeia is her favorite constellation, and coolest at least. And that, yeah, Cassiopeia is pretty cool. It's one of my favorites as well. I had glow-in-the-dark constellation patterns on my ceiling growing up, and Cassiopeia was one of them. And one of the funnest facts about Cassiopeia that I bet Jennifer likes is that if you were standing on the surface of the planet in the nearest solar system to us, which is Proxima Centauri, then our sun would appear inside the constellation Cassiopeia. There's a fun fact for you. So we're going to continue on. I like going towards the west first, and we've got the brightest star in our night sky, setting in the western sky. Actually, I just saw a comment come in, which we are going to, while we're still talking about Andromeda, actually, Lee is saying, or is asking, would my 70mm refraction telescope see the Andromeda Galaxy? Probably, because the Andromeda Galaxy is visible to the naked eye, like I said, and even through a pair of binoculars, you can see it pretty well. Now, it will look like just sort of a fuzzy patch of light in the sky until your eyes adjust, or unless you get really far away from the city lights. But a little tip for Lee and anybody else who's trying to observe any object in space through a telescope or binoculars, the way the human eye is structured is that on the center of our eye, which is a region called the fovea, is a concentration of cone cells, which are really good at detecting colors, but not very good at detecting dim light sources. Around the fovea, on the outside of the retina, is a concentration of rods, and those are really good at detecting variations in brightness and dimmer views. So if you're ever looking through a telescope and you're having trouble seeing an object like that, the trick is to look sort of off to the side, and then your peripheral vision will actually be able to see this dim object better than your fovea right in the center of your retina. So little helpful tip for Lee if you're having trouble seeing Andromeda. That should help a little bit. So as I said, we're continuing to the west here. The brightest star in the Early night sky is Arcturus, which is part of the constellation Boötes. Put the name up there. Boötes is a hunter constellation that was said to be watching the Ursa bears, and this word Arcturus means watcher of the bear in ancient Greek. And again, that's the brightest star in the night sky right now. It is the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere. But right now it'll be the most prominent star there. It's a red giant star. Jennifer chimed in again saying, woohoo! That was such a fun space fact. Glad you enjoyed that, Jennifer. We're gonna move on over here so that's about the most exciting stuff in our western sky. Actually, I can go a little bit higher. This is more towards the zenith, which is the highest part of the sky. But we have a familiar star pattern here that looks a bit like an hourglass shape. And this might remind you of another constellation, Orion. Orion's a winter constellation, though, so you won't see Orion in our early night sky tonight, at least. But you'll find a familiar pattern that looks kind of similar. This is the constellation Hercules. Hercules was one of the most famous heroes of antiquity as well, star of many great movies like the Disney classic. Hercules' story is a bit tragic, though. Most people know about Hercules' 12 labors, but they don't know why he had those 12 labors. And the reason is because, well, to backtrack, Hercules was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, but he was also the son of a mortal woman. Zeus had a bad habit of messing around with mortals, which sometimes produced offspring like Hercules. Zeus did manage to hide Hercules' existence from his goddess wife Hera until Hercules became an adult with a family of his own. But eventually, Hera found out about Hercules' existence, and she was understandably upset. Although instead of taking her anger out on her own husband, she decided to take her anger out on Hercules. So she used her magic to make Hercules go mad, which forced him to accidentally hurt his own family. And when Hercules realized what he had done, he was so distraught that he wanted to punish himself by forcing himself to complete 12 impossible tasks, which were called the 12 labors of Hercules. These involved defeating ferocious beasts or finding lost artifacts, things of that nature. So a bit more of a tragic story with Hercules. John is asking, why is period of revolution and period of rotation exactly the same for our moon? How could that come about? So I believe John is referring to the fact that the moon is tidally locked. So people say, you probably have heard of people talking about the dark side of the moon, and there is technically no dark side of the moon. There is a far side of the moon, though. So the moon experiences a day and night cycle of about 30 days. That's the moon phases that we see in our sky. But there's a far side of the moon, which means one side always faces away from us and one side of the moon always faces towards us. And that's referred to as tidal locking. There are a lot of other moons in our solar system that are tidally locked. It's a fairly common phenomenon. The reason for this has to do with the way the moon formed. We likely think that the moon was formed when a large object about the size of Mars crashed into the Earth during its formation, which sheared off a chunk of the early Earth. And that cloud of debris just sort of floated around the Earth for millions of years until gravity coalesced that chunk of Earth stuff to form a satellite, a natural satellite, the moon. And the reason for that tidally locking has to do with the physics of how that formation takes place. So as clouds of debris are orbiting objects and as gravity pulls them together, the gravity of the larger parent object will tend to kind of smush that object and kind of coalesce it together in a way that will eventually sort of synchronize its rotations. It's a bit of a complicated topic. There are some great... There are some better explanations of it online. I am planning on doing a live stream all about the moon in the near future, and we'll keep that comment posted, and we'll keep that in our notes so that we'll definitely bring that back up during that stream, because we'll talk a little bit more in depth, and we may even do a physics simulation about how that could possibly work. So great question, John. I really appreciate you asking that. And if you're interested in the moon, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section so we know that you'd like to watch that live stream, and we will make sure that happens sooner rather than later. As well, if you have any other ideas for live streams, topics we can cover, let us know, because I've got a couple cool ideas, but you know, I'm always up for new ones. So if you have any other ideas for live streams, chime in the comments. But thanks for asking that great question, John. I appreciate it. So we're going to continue our star tour over to the south. Now, I do love the Liberty Memorial here, but it is a bit in the way. So in Stellarium, we can change our landscape here, and I can set it to just more of a flat landscape because there are a couple things hiding behind the Liberty Memorial I would like to show you. First of all, the moon, of course. The moon tonight is in a waxing crescent phase. Waxing means that the moon is currently getting bigger and brighter, and crescent means that the moon is less than half full. Now, I believe tomorrow night will probably be the first quarter moon, where it's 1/4 of the way through its cycle and half full. But in the meantime, it is still a crescent. After the moon is half full, when it's more than half full, it's called gibbous. And then after it's full and starts getting darker, we call that waning. So right now it is a waxing crescent moon. And the moon is fairly bright, and after it becomes more than half full, it will actually be a source of light pollution in our night sky. So keep that in mind if you're planning on stargazing soon. Now is not a great time to plan stargazing because that moon is so bright. So we've got a really cool constellation, a very bright one here, low on the southern horizon. I'm not sure it's appeared in a livestream star tour yet. It's a summer constellation, Scorpius, the Scorpion. You can find it by looking for this bright red star here, with these 4 stars kind of fanning out next to it. This is the Scorpion's claws. Here, the Scorpion's body and tail curve downwards like a big hook, and the stingers at the end here. Polynesian cultures saw this hook shape as representing the hook of the demigod Maui, and if you've seen the movie Moana, you might recognize that star pattern. As for the Greeks, though, this Scorpion constellation is actually very closely tied with Orion, in spite of them not being in the sky at the same time. But Scorpius and Orion were just 2 characters in Greek mythology who fought. Orion was a famous hunter, and this Scorpion was sent down by the gods to punish Orion for bragging, actually. There's a common thread in a lot of stories in Greek mythology of gods punishing mortals for bragging. I think the ancient Greeks had a lot of problems with bragging. So that is Scorpius. I'm seeing a couple comments coming in. Casey says, "Oh man, I missed the beginning of this for dinner. Go back and tell me everything again." I would love to, Casey, but unfortunately I can't. But fortunately for you, you will be able to find a full recording of this live stream on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel, so you can go back and rewatch this start from the beginning, and you can watch all of our previous live streams if you are really bored and if you want to learn about a lot of interesting topics. We've covered so many topics during our streams. Just to name a few, we've made a comet from scratch in my living room. That's a fun one. We've set up a telescope in my living room as well. We have done a live stream all about the science of astronomy in movies, of astronomy in Harry Potter, of other fictional universes like Game of Thrones. We've taken deep dives into the planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and we've talked about probes and rovers and the Golden Record on the Voyager space probe. So, Casey, in case you haven't seen our previous live streams, I would encourage you to check out some of those because there are a lot of other topics we've covered you might enjoy. Casey's also asking what my favorite constellation is and why. That is a great question. Orion's probably my favorite constellation just because there are so many deep space objects and nebulas around it that it's just a really awesome viewing opportunity, and you could spend hours just staring at only Orion. Lee is saying, no need to answer now, but have you done an amateur astronomy video? And like I was saying, I've done a video all about setting up and using a telescope. So we set up a telescope in my living room, and I do some basic pointers on how to use a telescope. So definitely check that one out, Lee, if you're curious. Casey was saying that they didn't know Maui was Scorpius. Yeah, there you go. And I believe in the movie, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I believe they actually referenced that star pattern, and it does match. So pretty cool. One fun fact, this star here is one of the reddest stars in our night sky. It's so red, in fact, that ancient people often accidentally thought that it was Mars, the red planet. They made that mistake so many times that they did eventually decide to name that star Antares, which literally means not Mars. As I said before, astronomers are great at naming things. And moving right along, we've got a teapot asterism here. Here's the handle, the lid, and the spout. This is part of the constellation Sagittarius, which is an archer, also a centaur. He was sent down by the gods to help the Argonauts on their quest for the Golden Fleece. But really, most interestingly, I wanted to point out Sagittarius and this teapot shape because you can use this teapot to find the Milky Way galaxy. Now, you can definitely see it probably on the stream here. In the night sky, it's difficult, though. You're going to need to get, again, away from the city lights, away from the light pollution. But if you're having trouble finding it, just look for this bright teapot asterism in the southern summer horizon. And if you follow the pointy spout of this teapot, it points right at the center of our galaxy. The brightest region, this is the galactic core, where it's brightest, and this is visible in our summer skies. And so that's just right here the brightest portion of the Milky Way. If I zoom way out here, you can see it does stretch all the way across our sky. In the winter, though, we are facing away from the center of our galaxy, so it's harder to see since our solar system is about 2/3 of the way from the center of our galaxy. But in the summer, it's a great time to look at the Milky Way because you can see it shining brightly there in the south. Also up towards the zenith, again, that's the highest part of the sky, you'll find 3 bright stars that form a nice big triangle in our summer skies. This triangle can be seen high overhead for most of our summer months. And as you can probably gather by now, astronomers were very clever and original when it came to naming this triangle, famous for our summer skies. They decided to call it the Summer Triangle. Amazing, right? But ancient people used this asterism to help them determine the changing seasons. So the way this works is that in the springtime, these 3 stars will be seen rising in the east, one after another. But as soon as you can see all 3 up in the sky after sunset, then you know summer is here. Now that summer is approaching its end, we can see it high overhead after sunset, and it will be setting around midnight. And then by the fall, it will be setting in the west after sunset. So the position of this bright asterism will kind of help you figure out the season. And there are a couple interesting constellations here. This star is called Deneb, which means tail in Arabic, and it's the tail of Cygnus the swan, which is real simple. It looks like a big cross. This swan represented Zeus, the king of the gods, who disguised himself as animals when he came down to Earth to socialize with humanity, which often produced offspring like Hercules. And we've got down here the star Altair, which is the eye of an eagle constellation. So that's the eye. Here's the beak and the rest of its head. Here's its neck and its wings outstretched like this. Aquila was one of Zeus's pets, and he was also his courier in charge of carrying things around for Zeus, like his lightning bolts. And then we've got this star up here, which will be the 2nd brightest star in the night sky, the early night sky tonight, and it's the 5th brightest star in the celestial sphere, and that's Vega. It's part of a tiny little diamond constellation called Lyra the Harp, which was a harp that belonged to Orpheus, famous poet and prophet. One cool thing, though, about Vega here is that Vega will actually be the North Star in about 12,000 years. Now, I believe I can turn this on. Let's see. Oh, I thought I could. I might not be able to. So anyway, so let me preface this while I'm looking. So when you spin a top, like a toy top on a table, it'll spin around rapidly, but it'll also slowly wobble around. And that wobble is called precession. And Earth has precession as well. So right now, the North Pole is pointing at Polaris, the North Star. And that's why the North Star is the North Star. But that's not always the case. Here we go. So as the Earth wobbles around its axis, which takes about 27,000 years for one full wobble, the North Pole will point away from the North Star. Aha. This is what I wanted right there. Oh, yeah. Turn that on. Cool. All right. So, as I said, right now, the North Star... Whoa, sorry. The North Star is right there. And it is pointing at... the North Pole is pointing at the North Star. But over the course of the next few thousand years, the North Pole will point away until 12,000 years from now, where it will point closer to the star... Vega right up here. So Vega will be the North Star for humans over there, or in that time. Now, back in time, there was a different North Star as well. Many ancient writings reference a star called Thuban, which is this one right here. That's part of the constellation Draco, and Thuban was the ancient North Star. Again, that is referenced a lot in ancient writings, such as, I believe that's in the Iliad and Odyssey, but I could be wrong there. Maybe we'll do a show all about astronomy of ancient writings, I guess. Let's turn that off. All right. So that was Vega and Lyra the Harp. There's a deep space object in here I just want to briefly show off. It's one of my favorites. It's called the Ring Nebula. This contains the remnants of a dead star. This star did not go supernova, though. By the way, it's moving because the Earth is moving. That's how zoomed in we are. But this is actually how our star will die. In about 4 billion years, our star will slowly expand and spread its layers out. Our star will not go supernova, but it will turn into this type of object called a planetary nebula. But again, 4 billion years, we got plenty of time to wait. But you can see this object through a decently powerful telescope. So that's a fun one to spot since it's relatively easy to find, just kind of right between these two stars at the bottom of Lyra the Harp. All right, now the last stops on our star tour will be planets. We can see 2 planets in our early night sky and another one a little bit later. It will feature prominently in our fall skies. But the main event definitely are these 2 planets visible here, and that is... I don't want to do that. Let's do that. This is Saturn and Jupiter, these 2 planets. Now, you can tell that they're planets because they do not twinkle in our night sky. In fact, you can even see here in Stellarium that stars twinkle in our simulation just like they do in the real night sky. But planets do not twinkle. That's how you can tell them apart. The reason stars twinkle is because they're so far away from Earth that by the time their light finally reaches us, only a tiny amount of it is able to penetrate the Earth's atmosphere, and our atmosphere, all those lovely gases above our heads, causes that little bit of light to become distorted, making it appear to wobble and twinkle. And that's why stars twinkle. But planets, of course, are much closer than distant stars, so a lot more of their light is reflected back towards Earth, and they appear as wider disks of light, so they do not twinkle. Now, these 2 planets, well, any planet are you can see pretty much any time of the year. Planets orbit the sun at their own pace. That's actually how they got their name. The word planet means wanderer in ancient Greek. And so, depending on the time of the year and depending on the year, they'll appear in a different spot. So, Jupiter and Saturn will not be in the same place this time next year because they're wandering around at their own pace. But Jupiter and Saturn are decently special right now because they're so close together. Planets are not usually this close, and they're actually getting closer as the nights go on. Now, fairly soon, on December 21st, these 2 planets will actually align. They will appear as close together as they ever do in our night sky, and this is an event we call the Great Conjunction. This is a rare event. It only happens once every 20 years due to Saturn and Jupiter's very low orbit, or very slow orbits. So you'll definitely not want to miss this. Mark your calendars. And before you ask, it is a coincidence that this conjunction is taking place on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. Previous great conjunctions took place, I think the last one took place in like June or something, so it is just a coincidence. But it is kind of fun that that's happening on the longest night of the year. And you can see there were a number of other conjunctions as Mars passed these 2 planets recently. And that was all earlier in the year, but the Great Conjunction is still coming on December 21st, so very exciting. Now, if you... Now, normally I would dive in depth into these planets and talk about them in detail. Fortunately, we don't have time. And I also would like to give a shameless plug to the Planetarium, which, as I've mentioned before, is open to the public. If you feel comfortable coming to see our live star tour, I'd encourage you to do so because Jupiter and Saturn are present in our star tour right now, and we will fly to those planets in 3D, and you'll learn all about the gas giant planets. Again, that is at our live star tour only at the Planetarium. So if you want to learn more about Jupiter and Saturn, of course you can watch our previous live streams on both of those planets. But if you want to see them in our Dome Theater at the Planetarium and support us by purchasing a ticket, then you can definitely come check that out. I do want to cheat just a smidge and fast forward a little bit later because, as I mentioned, there will be another planet rising soon after sunset. And this planet will be prominent in our fall night skies, and that is Mars. Mars has done a full loop after having its conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn earlier this year, and we can now see it popping up there, rising in the eastern horizon. And Mars has been getting closer and closer. Here's a cool composite image taken this year by an amateur astronomer, and you can see how Mars has gotten quite a bit closer. And the next time Mars will be at its closest approach, which is called the opposition, will be at a date I find when I finish searching for it online as I vamp. October 14th. So coming up on October 14th, Mars will appear as close as it ever does in our sky as our 2 planets align, Earth and Mars. So mark your calendars there, October 14th. And that'll be the best time to observe Mars because it'll be closest and brightest. As you can see in that, as you saw in that picture, there's quite a variation in Mars's apparent size because it's of its location relatively close to us in its orbit. But Mars will be featuring in our fall star tour at the Planetarium. So if you want to dive in depth to Mars, you can come visit us next month. Or of course, you can watch the live stream we did, I believe, 2 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a live stream, a deep dive all about the red planet, so you can find out more information there. Again, rewatching our live streams on our YouTube channel or the Facebook page, you can find them. But that is mainly what I wanted to show off in our night sky tonight. If you have any last second questions, be sure to put them in the comments because we are approaching our wrap-up point. I do see Barbara is enjoying this show. Barbara says, awesome. Hello from upstate New York. Thanks for tuning in, Barbara. And we got a question just coming in from Alex, who says, what are the clouds on Mars? Ooh, that's a great question, Alex. We can zoom in here in Stellarium and see Mars up close. Okay, ooh, it's really flying by there. But Mars here, sometimes Mars is cloudy, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes a dust storm covers the entire planet of Mars, but Mars does have a very tenuous atmosphere. So Mars has an atmosphere primarily composed of carbon dioxide. And sorry, pause for a second to bring this image up. This is a great graphic showing off the atmospheres of other planets. So a lot of people don't realize Earth's atmosphere is actually mostly nitrogen, but there's enough oxygen to breathe. Mars's atmosphere, though, is over 95% CO2. So to answer Alex's question, what the clouds on Mars are made of, well, the atmosphere on Mars is a lot of carbon dioxide, but the clouds that we'll see in telescopes, which again sometimes cover the entire planet, are often made of dust, so dust storms. Now, interestingly, last week's stream, one of my fun facts was about the sky on Mars. So Earth has blue skies and red sunsets. Mars is the opposite. Mars has sort of reddish, pinkish skies and blue sunsets because of how light scatters through the dust in the atmosphere. So hopefully that answers your question, Alex. Those are what the clouds are. Unlike the clouds on Earth, which are made from condensation of water vapor, of course, Mars has a lot less water than Earth. It doesn't have no water. It does have a small amount of water in the surface soil of the red planet, but not enough to produce the clouds as we know them. And Alex commented again saying, great job. Well, thank you, Alex. I appreciate you tuning in and watching. I'm not seeing any other questions, so we are going to bring ourselves back to our northern sky here and back to our pocket universe, and we will start wrapping up our stream. Thank you all again so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, a bit of a tamer stream than last week, but we will jump back into our deep dives starting next week. Again, next week, our topic will be incoming space surprises. We are going to talk about the ways that space surprises us sometimes, in some ways that maybe could be concerning, but ways that we, using the power of science, can protect ourselves and also fully understand how space works so that we aren't worried about things. Because a lot of times you'll see some headlines that could be a little scary, but we can use science to learn about the truth of what's going on in space. Because the great thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe it is. So we will be talking about the science of those space surprises, asteroids, as well as things like the northern lights and supernovas, things that surprise us, things that we can't really predict in space. So that should be a lot of fun. Next Monday, 6 p.m., same place, same time, same pocket dimension. For now, though, I have been your planetarium specialist, Patrick Hess. Thanks for tuning in. Casey says thanks for the stream, and I say you're welcome. Alex says brilliant, and I say thank you. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome week, but I'm going to sign off for now, and I will catch you all later. Bye.